RetroAffaire.com.
Hello everyone, so this time we have something special for Halloween. It's a Halloween and I'm a big fan of horror in general, but I'm also a big fan of Japanese horrors in particular in terms of manga, anime, and probably above everything else, I'm a big fan of Yokai. Yokais come from the Japanese folklore. It's very ancient in terms of cultural background, but also very recent. It has a long history from many centuries ago to today. And I love how aesthetically interesting Japanese horrors are. Here in the beginning of the video I'm showing you some manga that I have, various authors, various mangaka, to show what I mean in terms of aesthetic, because I really think Japanese horror in particular is great. It's a very different kind of horror comparing to the Western type of horror where, you know, the jump scare is what gets you, while here is much more psychological, it's much more dramatic in a way, silent, much more mental kind of horror, which I really think is much more effective. So I'm going to present 30 kind of games, various platforms, even LCD Game & Watch kind of games. You can also read about all these games on RetroAffaire.com, my website, blog, from adventures to RPGs, action or visual novels, but all of them are basically spooky. So mysteries, classic monsters or yokai, as I said, overall chilling atmospheres. Some games are quite important for the horror genre. Some games of this list revolutionized and opened, you know, the path for future games. For instance, Sweet Home for the Famicom, and how tight it is to the Resident Evil saga that came afterwards. Some other games are a passion of mine, like Cosmology of Kyoto, quite obscure, you know, it's quite rare. They deserve to be more known. Days of Brain is another example of that. So some others have just a great aesthetic that I like, from cute 8-bit induced fear to my passion about yokai. For example, GeGeGe no Kitaro, the first that we see here, started from the Game & Watch LCD game by Bandai from 1992. GeGeGe no Kitaro is obviously a very famous Shigeru Mizuki's character, and there are many others in the manga. He's one of the most recent yokai, and I'm not showing you the gameplay of these games because here I'm focusing more on, you know, recommending you to rediscover these games rather than showing you the game itself. This one here is Yōkai Tantei Chima, which can be translated into Yokai Detective Chima. 1984 arcade style game, and you control this kind of yokai, this Chima, this one-eyed cyclops detective. The gameplay is similar to Pac-Man in a way, but you can fight back and shooting, you know, bouncing fireballs. It was released on the MSX in the beginning in 1985, but there's also a version for the PC-98. Mystery House. This is another old one, it's probably the oldest of the list, at least the first version of it from 1980, created by Roberta and Ken Williams, who later on, by the way, founded Sierra Online, so big deal. And the original one was for Apple II and displayed just wireframing kind of line drawings of rooms. It's basically uniting text adventure with some initial kind of visual as well. The story is similar to an Agatha Christie style, you know, whodunit. You're trapped in a Victorian mansion with 7 people, and one by one they are turning up dead. It's pretty much straight out of Agatha Christie's book. The Lurking Horror. This is another important one from Infocom. Infocom made many textual interactive games for many platforms, and this is quite a rare one. And also it's the only one in the Infocom library that is a pure horror game. It's heavily inspired by H.P. Lovecraft in terms of literature, and some magazines, Next Generation magazine, even called it the scariest game ever made. So you need to use your imagination, obviously, because it's just a text-based, but it's like an interactive kind of Stephen King's book. It's great, so try it out. On a side note, I love how all Infocom games come with a lot of stuff, not only manuals, but you see the passport and the ID. It really makes it more tangible and more real. Another LCD kind of game, handheld, Bandai, but this is from the late 1980s, and it's included here because of, you know, the House of Evil. So it's a good game for Halloween. But funnily enough, you need to use it with a source of light because it's solar powered. So there's no battery involved, which is kind of funny. Here is Sweet Home from the Famicom from 1989, and this is often considered like the grandparent of Resident Evil. Developed by Capcom, it's a horror RPG based on a Japanese film that has the same name and has unique characters, and unique tools like camera, lighter, kits, and so on. It does a good job in creating a creepy atmosphere with 8-bit, design and graphics. But the creator of Resident Evil, Shinji Mikami, admitted that Sweet Home inspired the design of the original Resident Evil. So pretty cool, try it out. Now another Yokai based game, Yokai Yashiki, that we can translate into something like a Ghost Mansion. Originally came for the MSX in 1986, but this is a Famicom disk game, a Famicom disk system for the Famicom discs console that you could attach under the Famicom from 1987. It's a very interesting game, especially for the use of a flashlight as your weapon, so to speak, and when the batteries gets lower and lower, the beam also of the light becomes shorter, so adds a little bit of urgency in your gameplay. Very interesting, very creative, try it out. And now another historical one, before Clock Tower, before Resident Evil. This is Mech Venture, developed a few of these kinds of games purely based on text and still images, but those still images are great. It's very good level of pixel art, even in black and white and monochrome. The interface is a point and click, and there are menu you need to use, like open, see, these kinds of things. Launched in 1986 for the Macintosh, and then later for the Atari ST, Amiga. It was also ported to NES in 1991 and Famicom. Very creepy at times, so highly recommended. And after that we can see Shadowgate. Shadowgate is another originally released for the Macintosh, another influential point and click adventure, similar to Uninvited in terms of mechanics and traps and puzzles that you need to solve. After the Macintosh initially ported to the Famicom and to the NES in 1989, and later on for the Game Boy Color in 1999. And here we see the Famicom version, here another version similar to Uninvited for the Atari ST with this big manual. It opens like a book. It's great. And finally, the version I have for the NES. You can see also the differences between the NES and the Famicom versions. Obviously, the cartridges are different, the packaging is all different, the design is different. That's why I like collecting for both platforms. It's almost like two different platforms. And here the Shadowgate Classics for the Game Boy Color with the distinctive black cartridges, beautiful manual full of pictures and information, and comes even in multiple languages. Speaking of the Famicom and the world of GeGeGe no Kitaro, this is the Famicom's Yokai Daimakyō, Great Spectre Demon World from 1986. And this is a very nice game, a platform game for the Famicom, obviously around again the world of Shigeru Mizuki. And you can see here I even found a page from an old magazine that the kid at the time took and kept, because it also showed some help to complete the game. Very interesting historical find. Now we are looking at Terrors and Terror 2 for the WonderSwan. WonderSwan, the monochrome version, the first game, and WonderSwan color for the second one. So they added the color. 1999 and 2000. And these are obviously Japan exclusive games that were never translated and ported into the West market, unfortunately. These games belong to the novel theater kind of series, like kind of Bandai's version of a visual or sound novels. So you need to rely on static images and text and a lot of reading, but it's sound and atmosphere, so it's very immersive. Continuing with the WonderSwan, we have here Uzumaki, two games from obviously the world of the mangaka and horror mangaka Junji Ito, who is very popular these days. But back in 2000, having these games made for a niche platform, it was great. It's great to have these two games, very different. One is more of a visual novel, that follows closely the events of the manga, which is Uzumaki Denshi Kaiki-hen, and we have Uzumaki Noroi Simulation, which on the contrary is a strategy simulation kind of game. But these are great to have, especially if you are a fan of Junji Ito. Another game about GeGeGe no Kitaro, this time for the Super Famicom, so after the Game & Watch LCD game, after the Famicom one, now the Super Famicom. In all, it's 16 bits beauty. It's still a platform, very well made, very fun, from 1993. So again, it shows also how Kitaro games evolved from the older era to the more narrative-driven and graphically rich games, which will continue later on with the PlayStation 1 and Saturn, but here I want to focus more on games that are limited also by the technology of the time. Clock Tower, it's a very famous game because of the historical kind of importance, pioneered the point-and-click survival horror really. And it's really surprising that it was released on the Super Famicom, mainly because of the controls are not ideal, not to control a point-and-click rather than keyboard and mouse. But became famous also because not only the story, but the fact that you cannot really fight back. This scissors man on the loose that stalks you and wants to kill you. The game clearly was inspired by the Italian horror film from Dario Argento's Phenomena in particular, and in fact the main character Jennifer's design is based on Jennifer Connelly, the actress at the time of that movie. And I wanted to include also the Clock Tower for the WonderSwan in 1999, because it's quite impressive for a monochrome game. They ported this game on a smaller device, so even more difficult on a handheld to use the kind of point-and-click interaction. It even looks better on the black and white, in terms of atmosphere at least. Okay, this one is a very peculiar game. Still Mizuki Shigeru in terms of character designs, but it's purely based on historically accurate yokai. They are all here from the Japanese folklore ghost stories. So there's a Kappa, the Tengu, the Roku Rokubi, the Kazobake, and so on and so forth. They are all here. The title is Mizuki Shigeru no Yokai Hyaki Yako, which is the Night Parade of 100 Demons from 1995. and it's basically a yokai themed digital board game up to 4 players. The Night Parade of 100 Demons is a story from the Japanese folklore at night where hundreds ghosts and demons meet in the streets of Japan, and still today it's something that is recreated and something that is very deep embedded into the Japanese culture. Very interesting. There are also movies about it. Nosferatu for the Super Famicom. This is an interesting mix of Prince of Persia and Castlevania in terms of gameplay. It's a kind of side view platformer, so quite common in terms of gameplay, and you need to fight with your hand-to-hand combat to fight these classic monsters, werewolves, zombies, and so on and so forth. Nosferatu is quite interesting graphically, has these large sprites and some gore, but it's very difficult to control, easy to miss jumps, and quite difficult overall. It's interesting to try, so give it a go. Uniquely blends or try to blend horror and fighting and cinematic horror feel, basically. Now The Man Called Dracula for the PC-98 from 1992. Fairy Tales game. They made a lot of games for the PC-88, PC-98, so the NEC kind of popular personal computers in Japan. This is not safe for work, so here while I show it I need to cover tactically some images on the back of the game. The level of pixel art is outstanding, as often happens on this platform. It's a visual novel adventure that blends classic vampire with some, erotic horror style popular in the 90s and Japanese PCs, as you know. It was contemporary of Death of the Brain. That's a game we are going to see later, and same developers. Yeah, give it a go. Quite great. Seven Guests. This is a very important game, but also look at the packaging. It's amazing. It comes in a CD-ROM, comes with this packaging that opens up like a book, with these prints, this level of attention on details. It's amazing. This is a special edition that comes with a VHS, with the making of, kind of tape with the developer interviews and so on. It sold over 2 million copies, so it was quite popular. And together with Myst became basically a killer application that drove CD-ROM adoption for the personal computers at the time. It's a horror-themed puzzle adventure filled with full motion videos and pre-rendered 3D graphics. Also for these reasons it was quite groundbreaking at the time. And again for the PC-98, from 1992 and 1993 we have Death of the Brain 1 and Death of the Brain 2. These two games were also put together on a compilation for the PC Engine Super CD in 1999. Quite rare and expensive now to find that copy, and even these two copies for the PC-98 are quite difficult to find in good condition. But these are very gory visual horror adventures, again developed by Fairy Tail. It's essentially a zombie B-movie in a game form. The classic scientist kind of brings dead to life with all the side effects that we have seen on multiple movies and multiple games. But here again the style of the game is outstanding. The level of pixel art is amazing. The gameplay is menu based, like look, move, use, but also this stands out for its fast-paced, time-limited sequence that you need to react to and choose an option to avoid death that happens quite often. So definitely try this out, very recommended. This is another obscure game. You will find very little information around. It's Maria, The Curse of the Dollhouse. This is the title you need to look for, because there are several Maria titled games around, but this is the one I'm presenting here. really heavy on full motion video, so you will explore pre-rendered rooms and solve puzzles to advance the plot. It opens with a rather shocking scene that I'm not going to spoiler here, but if you can find a copy, it's quite recommended because it's similar to other games such as D or Enemy Zero, similar mid-90s FMV kind of horror vibe, but with a Japanese cultural twist. And now what I consider the best game of the lot, for me at least. I know it's controversial, this statement, but I simply love this game, and I stress the word game because it's really unusual. It's an experience rather than a game. Cosmology of Kyoto. It's a horror adventure kind of documentary game. You basically experience a tour in the dark side of ancient Japan. Point and click adventure, and the set is in Heian kind of era in Kyoto, so the 10th of 11th century, and it's full of historical and mythological authenticity. The game is non-linear, it's completely open. You can wander on the streets of Kyoto in first person. You have the freedom to enter temples, talk to people, and stumble upon, incidents and weird creatures, ghosts, yokai. It's amazing, really recommended. This is the game that made me fall in love with this Japanese folklore and yokai and demons. The aesthetic also is amazing, great pixel art. It's really an immersive experience. I have 2 copies. This is very rare, also because it's quite of a niche, it's quite unknown as a game, even if the people who know about this game know how great this is. And I have a Japanese big box version that is still sealed. I don't know if it's the only copy left around that is sealed. It could be. And a copy from the US version, this kind of letterbox vertical packaging, very different packagings, and it's beautiful because you can see I'm showing you the map, manuals, both languages in Japanese and English. It's amazing, really, really recommended. I wanted to include a more modern game, which is Jitsuwa Kaiden Shin Mimi Bukuro Ichi no Sho. It's a very long name. It's more modern because it was released only 20 years ago, in 2005, and it's a take on Japanese ghost storytelling. So can be translated to something like True Story Ghost Tales Volume 1, kind of. I don't think I never seen Volume 2, so I don't know if they actually continued, and sadly it doesn't come with the manual. But this was one of the first PSP games to use the system 3D sound feature, so you could play with the headphones and sounds would move around you, very immersive. It's very well done, actually, very spooky, chilling atmosphere with the narrations done by voice actors, by the way, so it's great. Gakko no Kaiden. This is based on the hit Japanese film series School Ghost Stories, so Gakko no Kaiden, for the Sega Saturn. Full motion video adventures. This blurs really the line between game and movies. Released in 1995, just about a week after the first Gakko no Kaiden live action movie was released, because there are, I think, a few afterwards, at least 5 if I remember correctly. It's great how they connected, the movie with the game. Takes inspiration, the story, basically from the classic Japanese schoolyard urban legends, like the Hanako-san, so the ghost in the girls' bathroom, and other spooky tales that happen on campus, right? It's an interesting experience. I recommend, especially if you like J-horror, right? Japanese horror, and the classic kind of haunted school stories. The next games are for the PC Engine or PC Engine CD-ROM system, starting with Laplace no Ma, which means Demon of Laplace. Takes inspiration from, again, Lovecraft in terms of kind of atmosphere, but it's a RPG. releasing in 1987 on PC-88 and 98 in the beginning, and then to the PC Engine CD-ROM, and there's also a version for the Super Famicom. But this here is a very nice version because it adds CD kind of quality sound to the game. Yokai do Chuki, which is one of the earliest Namco's title for the PC Engine. You can translate it as Shadowland Yokai. It's a platform with a twist on the Buddhist philosophy and afterlife. In this sense, closer to Cosmology of Kyoto, but just for the Buddhist kind of spin. It was an arcade game from 1987, and this is the port for the PC Engine in 1988. And finally, I want to close with a masterpiece. So as you notice, I didn't include here, Resident Evil or The House of the Dead or Splatterhouse or Ghosts and Goblins, all these games that are very famous and popular already, with this exception. So I wanted to include Castlevania Dracula X Rondo of Blood for the PC Engine CD because it's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece, it's a game that from 1993 really showcased what a CD game could do in terms of rich sound and anime style cutscene. Beautiful game with voiced dialogue, obviously in Japanese. If you never tried it, it's a masterpiece of 2D action with classic horror, vampires, haunted castle, and a killer soundtrack. So this is amazing. I'm lucky to have a copy that even has the spine, is in great condition because it's quite a pricey game as well. So I hope you liked this video. I wanted to give you, some recommendations for Halloween, how to celebrate, and to share my passion about horror, Japanese horrors, manga, anime, games, retro games, where the limitations of a platform were a way for developers and designers to show creativity, and I love that period of time. You can try to scare people or create anyway emotions and feelings with 8 or 16 bits or pixelated images, and I think they all succeed. You can also read my long article on RetroAffaire.com, where you can go through all these games that I mentioned and showed you here with more information, more pictures. So visit the blog and consider subscribe and liking and everything and share. I hope you enjoy Halloween. See you next time.